Alrighty then, back with, obviously, another video. Today, as you just saw, and as was mentioned in the previous upload, was that, we're gonna do a very, very basic kind of wash day. So, today we are going to be working on this, Toyota Camry 2017. As you can see, just from things like these wheels getting real close and seeing all this water spotting, that actually goes all the way, you can hear that, across the paint. And we are going to fix that, correct it. We're going to remove a lot of that heavy sediment and just do a pretty basic wash. Now then, for something like this, you always want to start and get all your things like your buckets and stuff all ready so that everything's just ready for you to go. Make sure you get all your products in order so that they are being used when necessary and things like that. So for something like this, for something like a very, very basic wash, we're not going to do any correcting. We're not going to do anything like that. No strip washing, nothing like that. What we are going to do is start with the basic steps to a correct wash, or what is known in the detailing industry as a correct wash. So, what you do is you start with things like the wheels. Talking about the wheels, we want to start with them first because we are going to grab our wheel bucket, one of our 3 buckets. That is a very good idea to have, but we'll get into if it's completely necessary for your style of washing and things like that. But for today, we're definitely going to need a wheel bucket because, as we saw earlier, this dirt is just crazy on these things. So, and most of this is all just your basic, just dirt in the road and a little bit of brake dust. But on a car like this, where it doesn't have any like slotted carbon ceramics or anything like that, we're not going to get a huge amount of brake dust, so a heavy brake dust wheel cleaner isn't necessary. At least I don't believe so. A lot of the stuff is just wiping off, just pretty much just with my finger, and it's just light dirt. These wheels also do have a spray ceramic sealant, so nothing too crazy, just spray it on there, and that stuff works really well at keeping these just really, again, easy to be wiped off. So they're going to clean up really well. We start with them first because we're going to get a separate bucket and wash this wheel completely. We'll get a wheel brush, we'll get a wheel woolly, things like that, tools that we'll get more in depth with and show over time and things like that. And since we're washing this wheel first and we're out in the sunlight, things like that, obviously, kind of bright day out, we don't want to get a lot of water across the fender because we don't want to do all 4 wheels, or we don't want to wash the car, then go around and separately wash all 4 wheels with the whole car wet and let all the water spotting dry. That's not good. So, because then just hard water and stuff starts to build up and start to get major sediment buildups and things like that, and unless your car is really well protected, that can end up, if not taken care of, cause etching and things like that where it really hooks into the paint. So we want to start with those wheels first, and I will get everything ready and I will show you the full process for that. Alrighty then, so we got everything we will need to do all 4 wheels on this. First, we have our bucket of just straight clean water that is only for using on our wheels. It's got all of our tools in it. This is what is called a wheel woolly. It's for getting into the nooks and crannies of your wheelbarrow, some places that some people might forget. Got a wheel brush, lug nut brush, tire brush, a few different cleaning chemicals. This is tire and rubber cleaner, obviously says on the bottle, and then these 2 are 2 different kinds of wheel cleaners. there are hundreds and hundreds of brands of different kinds of wheel cleaners. Those two are, one is a Meguiar's one that you can literally just buy at your Fred Meyer, your Vons, your Kroger stores, Walmart, like any kind of big grocery store that might have an automotive section, things like that. They'll have it, or at least there's a really good chance they'll have it, or at least something like it. So we got those brushes, hose with just a spray connector, and then we have our little stool for holding anything that we need, and then on top of that there is the a drill with what is called a turbo stick. So this guy is pretty cool. Obviously just got water all over the camera. Sorry about that. So, that guy is for getting all the way through, same as the wheel woolly, but slightly better, all the way through your wheelbarrows. As you can see, a lot of the stuff wipes off, and that wheel looks actually like it has quite a bit of sparkle and stuff all the way through it, which, even though this isn't your craziest high-end car, it's still nice when they look nice. So, we are going to wash through those. The way to start this process is always start by thoroughly rinsing your wheel and your tire and even your wheel well, so that when you start applying chemicals and stuff, it's all nice and wet and just works better. Anything that pertains to washing, painting, washing the wheels, paint, everything, you pretty much want to always apply while wet. So, start off by using your tire cleaner. Tire and rubber cleaner, so I like to spray that on first and let that really soak into here. As you can see, starting to turn brown. That's what we want. And then also did the wheel well all the way through. And then after that, we are going to take, for this one, we'll use the Meguiar's Ultimate Wheel Cleaner. It's pretty standard stuff. It's good. Don't have any complaints about it. But same thing as the rubber cleaner. Just thoroughly spray it and all the way through your wheel and wheel barrel. You're not going to damage anything. Really, don't worry about it. All this stuff it's pretty tough. I mean, if it can handle all the water and dirt and stuff that goes on the road, it can handle a little bit of cleaner. Now, this stuff does not spray like a foam. It has a thick gel, but it doesn't have a very wide spray, so you kind of got to go all the way around the wheel. If you're using something more like a chrome cleaner and stuff like that, they can usually shoot in more of a foam, which is really nice, but this stuff does not. So first, I will start off with the tire, using the specific tire brush, and doing this because it's sat in the longest, and then this is also giving the cleaner a little bit of time to work on the wheel. Now, these tires aren't very dirty. I clean this car pretty often, so it's not going to be too bad. After that, I'm going to want to do the face of the wheel itself, just really getting into every nook and cranny. Now, as you can see, this stuff actually does wipe off pretty easily. Unless your wheels are in significantly bad condition, remembering to rinse off thoroughly, your wheels will actually clean up pretty easily. Most of this road grime and dirt does wipe off, and most people just don't realize it. It's just using a pressure washer or hose will not always remove it initially. So that is looking pretty good. Making sure to check every corner wheels are typically fairly complicated in design, so you really want to try and get every angle of the wheel to make sure all the actual grime has been removed. Next, we'll work on the barrel of the wheel. So we'll grab this guy, and the way this works is literally you just stick it in there, and it's at an angle, so it's really easy to get all the way through, get all the way behind the spokes and stuff like that. And as you can see, it is starting to get significantly better. Now, if you ever see any purple liquid or anything coming off your brake disc or caliper or anything like that, that is actual brake dust. Pretty much every wheel cleaner has the ability of changing colors when interacting with iron and things like that, so when it hits your brake dust, it actually turns color. Some are pink, some are purple, but that's typically the standard color. So I'm going to finish this wheel and finish all 4 and show you the final product once I am done. Alright, so we have finished the wheels and tires. As you can see, the tire looks a bit more of a matte black and less of a black with a light brown on it. Wheels are still a little wet, but they look much better. Obviously, did all 4, as we said, and as you can see all the way through the barrel, no dirt now. Well, there's a bit left on my fingers from the last time I wiped through there, but none anymore. No fresh contaminants. So, now that we've done all 4, we are left with a very nice bucket of dirty water. Now, reason we have 3 buckets is because, got the last 2 over here, we don't want any of the contaminants, chemicals, bits of debris and stuff that will be in this bucket to end up in our wash process. So, we don't want to empty that bucket out and just fill it up with water and just use our wash sponge in it, because we don't know how many residual chemicals and things like that are left in it. So, always keep separate bucket. That kind of information is pretty standard. You can pretty much find this stuff anywhere. Anyone will tell you the same thing. 3 buckets, best method. But I digress. So, we are going to be onto our full wash. So, the way we are going to start with that is we're going to rinse the whole car top to bottom, and then now, because this is just a this isn't like a customer car or anything. This is just going to be a routine maintenance wash, nothing too special. I'm not going to use a foam gun because we don't need it. Foam guns at this point are almost more for theatricality. I like to use them for customers because it makes the customer feel better having their whole car soaked in foam. But for just your personal daily driver, it's not that important. Does it bring a lot of debris off and contaminants, things like that, off the paint? Sure. Is there a way to measure that? No. Can you really tell it makes it that much safer? Not really. If your car's already being coated and protected with paint, sealant, wax, whatever, this process should never ever induce that much more scratching. So I don't see the point in us using the foam cannon for today's project. Maybe if it was heavily dirty. This is pretty lightly dirty. It's got some bugs and stuff on it, things like that, just normal driving back and forth from work, stuff like that. But no heavy mud or anything like that. So I don't see the point in us doing that today, so we're not gonna. We're going to start with rinsing the vehicle top to bottom. Always do everything top to bottom. Top is typically cleaner, bottom is near the side skirts is typically a lot dirtier. So you don't want your sponge wiping across the top, or as I should say, you don't want to wipe the bottom side skirt off and then go wipe across your hood, because you just brought whatever dirty and heavy contaminants are on the bottom onto the top. Don't want this. So always work top to bottom. We are going to have 2 buckets, obviously, if I can get them apart. Sadly, these ones are stuck together. together pretty well. Alright. So, we're going to have our 2 buckets. Reason for 2 buckets is you have your soap bucket. Obviously, pretty self-explanatory. Has your soapy water. And then you have your rinse bucket. Now, sadly, these ones have just a little bit of dirt and stuff in them, so obviously rinse all that out. In the bottom of both these buckets, you want what are called grit guards. One of these. This thing is designed to sit in the bottom of your bucket so that all your heavy contaminants float to the bottom but can't get back up underneath. The way this is designed, it doesn't really let water flow through there. So all the stuff sinks, gets trapped underneath, and can't come back up, which just means an even safer wash, less scratching. Now, again, depending on how far you want to go with this, this is strictly just for a daily driver. Do you really need to do grit guards and everything? Is it recommended? Yes. Highly recommended. Will always make the wash better. But if that isn't a priority of yours, if you don't really care about slight swirl marks, things like that, especially if you are a person that maybe didn't care about or don't care about using automatic car washes, things like that, that doesn't bother you, then I won't say that grit guard is a necessity. It makes it better, but it's not a necessity. It does just depend on how high of a level you want to get with your detailing. Same with the 2 buckets. So you have your rinse bucket. This, I'm using a smaller one, not a very big vehicle or anything. So what you do is you dip your sponge or pad or whatever item you are washing with into your soap bucket. So you dunk it in, you wash your car, and then you put it into the rinse bucket and then back into the soap. Reason for that is that you, the rinse bucket gets full of the majorly heavily dirty things. So right after you wipe the panel, if you notice that you're like, oh goodness, that part of my sponge is now really brown or whatever, you rinse it in your rinse bucket, and now it's fairly clean. And by the time you get to your soap bucket, the bucket that is actually dealing with the liquid that is touching your paint, almost all the excess contaminants are removed from the process. If your car isn't that dirty, if you essentially don't want to bother having that many buckets, it can be a bit of a hassle. Maybe you don't want to really waste the water or anything like that. I mean, people have been washing their cars with 1 bucket for years. Still recommend at least 2. 1 wheel, 1 body. And if you are going to only use 1 bucket, I would then highly recommend using a grit guard so that all your heavy stuff sits at the bottom. This is just really workarounds for how much effort you want to put in. Maybe you see this video and you want to get into detailing, but who knows, maybe cash is tight, things like that. You really are motivated to wash your car, but you can't afford every single tool. You can, at least at first, you can get away with only 1 bucket and things like that. There are going to be many people on the internet, obviously, that tell you you're doing it wrong, or why would you do it like that? Well, it just depends on how deep you want to get into it. That's what this whole process is going to be about, is how much you want to really delve into detailing. Because if you're not going to do this for a living, or you're not going to go buy hundreds and hundreds of dollars of chemicals and products and things like that, you just want to keep your car clean, you don't need every single one of these tools. You don't need to have a garage full of products. You just need the essentials, and that is what we are going to try and show you. Show you both the correct way on how to do it, the more professional way, and then also more of the weekend warrior. You just want to take pride in keeping your vehicle clean and doing it yourself. Don't feel the need to go pay for it to have someone else do it. You just want to do it yourself. We'll show, or attempt to show, at least both ways for doing this process. Because there are so many levels of detail that you can get into with cleaning your car. But as I sit here and ramble on, the wheels are now drying, so we're going to finish with rinsing the vehicle. So we will get our buckets ready, full of water, have soap in them, soap on our sponges. We'll have everything ready, and then if you even want to go further, have all of your drying agents ready. So you'll have your towels and things like that just ready for you to grab as soon as you need them. Because the sooner you get the water off the vehicle, the sooner that it dries, the less chance you have of any water spotting or things like that to occur. So having everything ready, if we were cooking, you'd call it your mise en place. Just having everything just ready for you whenever you need it really does help a lot and makes the process a lot faster. So I will get everything ready and get back to you guys in a second. So we're back. Both buckets are full. Sadly, now got something in it. Oh well, we won't worry about it. But we have our sponge ready and prepped it with a little bit of soap on there, a little bit of Adam's car shampoo. Got the full bucket filled with water, and then we're going to just dunk it. And then we will proceed by working always, as I said earlier, top down. So just working our way across the top, all the way down. Now then, if I was really worried about scratching this car and stuff like that, I would probably take this at one panel at a time, but today I'm not. So now we go into our rinse off any heavy dirt, and then back into the soap, and then back at it. Now we're going to continue working our way down. I'm just going to pretty much go back and forth across the whole car, really making sure to get every area you can. And then right there, I call it about good. And you just really want to continue this process for the entire car, working your way down all the way till you hit the bottom, and then I'll probably go around to the front, do the same, work my way down the hood, then do the front fascia, same on the rear end, same on the other side. So it is a fairly simple process, but as I'm talking here, the car is wet and sun is starting to come out, so we want to work as fast as we can. So I'm going to sit you guys down and return to you when I'm done with this. As soon as I'm done rinsing the vehicle, or sorry, washing it, going to rinse it down, and then going to dry it with a nice large plush microfiber towel. And I will get back to you guys when we're ready for that. So, whole car is rinsed off. Our rinse water, pretty murky, as you can see, which is, well, a good thing. That's what it's for. And meanwhile, our soap water is actually still pretty clear. That's what we want. So, whole car's rinsed off. Still, tiny bit of bug residue. But again, we're not worried about it. We're not trying to be super crazy, at least for today's wash. On other videos, things like that, we will definitely show the full process, really how to do every single step, things like that. But not today. Today, we are basically relaxing. We're not stressing about our wash, nothing like that. So, we are going to use our detail spray, and then we are going to get, one second, we are going to get a nice microfiber drying towel. This is a waffle weave pattern, which is actually, I guess if you think microfiber towel, you usually think a nice plushy soft towel, probably a little tiny one, that you use just for like wiping wax or something. Not necessarily. This is the same material. It's just not as plushy. It's got a much lower GSM count to it, which is the amount of fibers per square inch, if I'm not mistaken. So higher GSM, higher plush. This is still microfiber. Still really safe on your cars. Just not your atypical looking microfiber towel. So what we're going to do is spray down the vehicle in detail spray. Now, this stuff works as a drying agent, but also helps protect against water spotting when it dries, if we don't get to it by the time that it does dry. So, spray down, literally spray down the whole vehicle. It won't affect the capability of drying. It won't cause smearing or anything like that, really. In fact, it will typically leave a nice amount of shine on your vehicle without having to apply another product, sorry, a little close, afterwards. So this stuff really, really helps. Really cuts down time of what you are doing. Only issue is typically around cost. Can you afford to always apply a decent amount of material, or sorry, product to your vehicle? This stuff is about, if I'm not mistaken, $10 or so a bottle, and this stuff is $40 for a large container, which fills 8 bottles, so good savings. But again, it is fairly expensive, especially if you're really into detailing and you want to wash your car and keep it cleaned as much as possible. You may want to stick with actually just using the towel. The towel will work just fine on its own, but the detail spray will help a lot. So, just going through drying the whole vehicle, and as you can see, it does take a second to really start working. As soon as the microfibers start to get wet, they actually start to absorb a lot better. So it will be a little streaky at first, but as you can see, that is great looking, just as is. So, using a detail spray helps a lot, adds a lot of shine, helps with drying, helps dry faster, better, with less issues from things like the sun. So I'm going to finish this cutting around a lot of all this busy work, things like that, because I don't feel it's necessary. We're not going super in depth. There's not a lot you can do wrong right now. You're just simply washing your car. You're just doing it in a safer, better way. So I'm going to stop right here, dry the car off, and then show you guys the final product of what is essentially, without, of course, shooting a video and things like that, maybe about a half hour's time work. So, whole car is rinsed off. Our rinse water, pretty murky, as you can see, which is, well, a good thing. That's what it's for. And meanwhile, our soap water is actually still pretty clear. That's what we want. So, whole car is rinsed off. Still, tiny bit of bug residue. But again, we're not worried about it. We're not trying to be super crazy, at least for today's wash. On other videos, things like that, we will definitely show the full process, really how to do every single step, things like that. But not today. Today, we are basically relaxing. We're not stressing about our wash, nothing like that. So, we are going to use our detail spray, and then we are going to get, 1 second, we are going to get a nice microfiber drying towel. This is a waffle weave pattern, which is actually, I guess if you think microfiber towel, you usually think a nice plushy soft towel, probably a little tiny one, that you use just for like wiping wax or something. Not necessarily. This is the same material. It's just not as plushy. It's got a much lower GSM count to it, which is the amount of fibers per square inch, if I'm not mistaken. So higher GSM, higher plush. This is still microfiber. Still really safe on your cars, just not your atypical looking microfiber towel. So what we're going to do is spray down the vehicle in detail spray. Now, this stuff works as a drying agent, but also helps protect against water spotting when it dries, if we don't get to it by the time that it does dry. So, spray down, literally spray down the whole vehicle. It won't affect the capability of drying. It won't cause smearing or anything like that, really. In fact, it will typically leave a nice amount of shine on your vehicle without having to apply another product, sorry, a little close, afterwards. So this stuff really, really helps, really cuts down time of what you are doing. Only issue is typically around cost. Can you afford to always apply a decent amount of material, or sorry, product to your vehicle? This stuff is about, if I'm not mistaken, $10 or so a bottle, and this stuff is $40 for a large container, which fills 8 bottles, so good savings. But again, it is fairly expensive, especially if you're really into detailing and you want to wash your car and keep it cleaned as much as possible. You may want to stick with actually just using the towel. The towel will work just fine on its own, but the detail spray will help a lot. So, just going through drying the whole vehicle, and as you can see, it does take a second to really start working. As soon as the microfibers start to get wet, they actually start to absorb a lot better. So it will be a little streaky at first, but as you can see, that is great looking, just as is. So, using a detail spray helps a lot, adds a lot of shine, helps with drying, helps dry faster, better, with less issues from things like the sun. So I'm going to finish this cutting around a lot of all this busy work, things like that, because I don't feel it's necessary. We're not going super in depth. There's not a lot you can do wrong right now. You're just simply washing your car. You're just doing it in a safer, better way. So I'm going to stop right here, dry the car off, and then show you guys the final product of what is essentially, without, of course, shooting a video and things like that, maybe about a half hour's time work. Alrighty, and just like that, it is all done. It's all nice and dry and clean, and pretty much, as you can see, a lot of depth and gloss still in the paint. As you can see right through here, it looks pretty wet, which is honestly what you're going for. You want your car to always look wet. That is probably the end-all be-all for car detailing, is you want it to have just a nice thick layer of gloss looking. Have the paint look like it has a nice thick layer of gloss on it at all times. Got the wheels all done, tires shined and everything. All the panels all nice and clean. Did the front plastic wheel wells, got those all blackened out, and just like that, just very simple. I mean, what did we use? We used 3 buckets, some water, car shampoo, and wheel cleaner, and detail spray. And with just those few little products, got the car looking nice and clean. So, good job there. And that probably the whole process maybe took a half hour. Now, of course, this whole process is a lot harder if you don't, say, have things like a driveway and you're on the street. Things like that might deter you, of course. But that doesn't mean that going to a car wash that actually allows you to use the pressure washer, things like that, that is still viable. I mean, you can still bring some of your products. You can probably get away. They don't like it if you bucket wash there, but you can get away with bringing wheel cleaner. You can get away with bringing tire shine, drying agents like detail spray, your towels and stuff. Those are all things that you can use to at least ensure that your wash is better than the guys next to you in the next stall using that foam brush that is just never use one of those. Those will wreck your paint so fast, just like going through an automatic car wash. If you can avoid it, of course, some people like the convenience, that's fine, but it is going to induce scratching. There's no getting away from that, and that's just something that, if you're fine with, cool. Doesn't matter. Maybe if you drive a white car, it's really hard to see the scratches and stuff like that. If you drive a black car, you definitely want to follow something close to this method, or if not even better, using the foam gun and stuff like that. So, that is going to do it for today's upload. If anybody has any questions, anything, always feel free to ask. As we continue on with the series, we'll get more and more in depth and break stuff down and not be quite as quick. So, rest of everyone, have a good day, and I will see you in the next episode.